Kickstarting our brand new season with a discussion that puts India in the spotlight, exploring India's robust economic growth, delving into factors fueling this momentum and its implications for MSMEs. Joining me are some of the most influential voices in the industry. Niranjan Hiranandani, co-founder and managing director of Hiranandani Group. Now, India is the world's fastest growing major economy today. So I want to kickstart this discussion by diving into some of the key macro factors, that's fueling this growth. What is propelling India's growth? Let's start with you, Mr. Hiranandani.
Wonderful story to see 7.7% in spite of the fact that there are headwinds, in spite of the fact that America is at the back foot, Japan is on the back foot, China is on the back foot, Europe is completely in the back foot.
Yeah.
If you look at it in comparison, I think we have huge advantage in taking things forward for our country. In terms of the challenges and the negatives, we have the headwinds in terms of petroleum. I think that's a big factor. The Middle East war is certainly going to be challenging with all our transport. The growth part of the story is probably the leadership that Mr. Narendra Modi brings to the table. And I think the change has definitely taken place in terms of the growth story across the board. Could I have imagined growth of 35 kilometers of national highway per day, Mumbai city adding 300 kilometers of metro when we had 190 kilometers for the last 65 years, the Cross Harbour Bridge going across the sea, 16.5 kilometers across the sea of the Atal Bridge connecting to the new area. So I think we have had it right in terms of the direction. God has also been with us. Good weather has definitely taken a side. And the balancing between East and West has worked for us as of now. What the geopolitics is there for tomorrow, nobody knows. But I think we have done fantastically. Industry, trade and commerce has certainly also taken off. And the stock markets prove it all right.
That's right, absolutely. How do you think India's MSMEs will define the roadmap, for a new rising India?
MSMEs are going to actually take it to the next level. Housing, for instance, in the field in which we work, we deal with 260 items of inputs that come into the real estate sector. And barring the 5 major items like steel, cement and other aspects of it, the rest of it all comes from SMEs. So this second, we are a very highly labor-intensive industry. The skill sets are just not available. Let me give you an example. If I wanted good skill sets, whether from the SME sector or the labor sector in my industry, 15 years ago, if I wanted 100 labor, I would get 250. Today, when I want 100 skilled labor, I don't get 20. So in reality, on one side, we have unemployment. And we say we want to resource from the small scale sector. The small sector don't have the skill set to run their sector. Forget being able to get labor for myself when I'm getting resources from it. So when I'm ordering things like aluminium, stuff like that, which are done by SMEs, they're complaining that we don't have labor to be able to complete your job on time. It's not the material. It's not the power. It's just the skill sets. So I think what we've been talking about is fantastic, that the SMEs are going to really be important to us, and they are. But if we don't fill the gaps in terms of it, skill sets being one of them, the others have been mentioned in terms of it already, technology being the other thing, I think SMEs just can't take off. So the best part is they are a wonderful resource as far as India is concerned, and with the demographics being there, unemployment on one side, zero skill sets availability which is there in the marketplace, somewhere this gap is too big. It's huge. It's unbelievable. And I think we need to focus on it. So MSMEs, fantastic for the next couple of years. But if you don't bridge the gap which is there, then there will be an unfulfilled gap which we will have to worry about. And then the goal, which is big industry doing exports, we just will not be able to compete with the world if this gap remains. So we have to close this gap. And I promise you, 7-8% will be 10% GDP growth in 1 year from today. But you have to bridge the gap of what you do. The second aspect of it, which is very, very difficult for MSMEs or even large industry or even for us, is logistic cost. If you compare logistic cost in India and logistic cost in China, logistic cost in China per item that you're buying is about 7%. We are close to 13-14%. When we get all the transportation, highways, roads, multimodal transport, airports, waterways and all done, we are hoping in the next few years we will be close to 9 or 10, which is still far away from the best in the world. So if you want to compete with the best in the world and compete and be China +1 or China +100, I think what we really need to do is fill up all these gaps. MSMEs are extremely important, but if you don't concentrate on the gaps, then it will be a wish list we are not going to be able to attain. That's my fear.
It's been 8 years since the Make in India initiative, was put in place. How do you think we have fared so far?
Fantastic. Some okay, some bad. I would say that in a large area where government intervention has taken up positively, we just talked about the PLI scheme and manufacturing. I think that has really attracted the most competitive elements where we thought we would not be able to get. In the other segments, I think still we are very much behind. And if you're looking at resources of coal, we're still importing coal. We have enough coal in India to supply to the world, and we are still importing coal. There are challenges where I think resources like gas and petroleum and all the other discoveries can be more intensified, and I think that opportunity is there. What is fantastic is the services industry. I think IT and other segments of the country have ruled the roost all over the country, and manpower. We have CEOs from India going all over the world, doctors going, nurses going, and all these things. And I believe this year I saw some statistic which showed more than 100 billion have been received by India from NRIs who serve overseas and bring money into India. So human resources seem to be on the upswing.
What do you think really needs to be done, to support entrepreneurs in India to enter the global market, especially for MSMEs who are now aspiring, to actually go global, from local, to also overall enhance cross-border trade? What's your take on this, Mr. Hiranandani? Let's start with you.
Well, I think as we have already discussed, a lot has been done. I think the taxation effect to sole businessmen and individuals and SMEs needs to be rationalized. Yeah. You can't have small SMEs are even sole proprietorships that were working. And I think those days are gone when you can have a high tax rate and expect people to be honest. Mm-hmm. So I think that type of rationalization needs to be done for the purposes of taxation, direct tax that we really need to do. The second, I think, which is most important, as we have said, technology, skill development, which is to be done, but also the linkages to each segment is very important to educate. Take education, for instance. Today, education is devoid of any technology use at all. And there is so much available all over the world. During COVID, we realized how much online education could be possible. Today, that is going to be used for skilling, reskilling, unskilling, and also taking it forward that you have a continuous education of all ages. People may not be able to go back to the colleges and schools or skilling centers to do so. I think online education in all these segments can be really enhanced. So I think education, and the last is health. I think health is still not taken a fourth point in our country, and I think a lot needs to be done. So all in all, fantastic country, love India, love Bharat, and I think a big opportunity. MSMEs are there, but I think every segment is beautiful in this country.